Okay, I think we can call the meeting to order, and it is 6:04. Natalie, you want to do roll call?
Okay, Commissioner Kershner,
Present.
Commissioner Momsen,
Here.
Vice Chair Knudsen,
Here.
Chair Schlelein,
Here.
and Youth Member Brown.
Here.
Thank you. I would like to point out that Commissioner Van Wagner and Commissioner Emerson and Commissioner Smull are absent from this evening's meeting.
Thank you. This next item is the approval of the agenda. Do we have any additions, corrections, changes from the commissioners? We don't need to formally do that, right? No roll call. We need a motion. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Would you like a roll?
Excuse me?
Roll call.
Roll call, please.
Okay.
Yes.
Commissioner Kershner,
Yes.
Commissioner Momsen,
Yes.
Vice Chair Knudsen,
Yes.
Chair Schlelein,
Yes.
Youth Member Brown.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Comments from the public. At this time, members of the public may comment on any item not appearing on the agenda. We ask that you keep your comments of 3 minutes or less. Under state law, the Commission cannot discuss or act upon matters presented under this item at this time. For items appearing on the agenda, the public will be invited to comment when the items come up for the Commission's consideration. Upon being acknowledged by the chair, please step up to the podium and speak into the microphone. Begin by stating and spelling your name. And I don't think we have anyone. We will move on to the consent calendar. And all items listed on the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be acted upon by a single motion. There will be no separate discussions of these items unless members of the Commission or staff request specific items to be removed for specific action, separate action. So now I need to ask the Commission if you have any items that you wish to pull for special discussion. No public comment. Could I have a motion and a second from the Commission? Approve the consent calendar, yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second.
Would you conduct roll call?
Commissioner Kershner,
Yes.
Commissioner Momsen,
Yes.
Commissioner Knudsen,
Yes.
Chair Schlelein,
Yes,
Youth Member Brown.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
thank you. Item 3.1, we need to receive the minutes from the regular meetings.
So they'll pass and the whole consent calendar passes with
Okay.
that one motion.
Okay.
So we can move on to the
So we
next
can move
item.
on, thank you. Item 4.0, regular calendar. The item is student creative artists interviews. And we need to turn it over to you.
Yes, here we are again. Just a year goes by fast, doesn't it? So it's time for the annual interview process for the Student Creative Artist Awards, which, as you all know, was established in 1988 and continues through today. This year, much like last year, we're following a very similar process. We had 13 wonderful applicants, and I'm very excited to hear their interviews, who submitted their works of art during the application period when it was open. We did do a lot of promotion of it through social media. We also had a press release, and we sent out direct emails and communications to art teachers far and wide in hopes that they would share it with their students. So we're very excited to start this process. So like I said, this is the first of 2 interview periods we'll have. We also have a meeting next week on the 22nd where we will interview the remaining applicants, and then that will be the meeting also where the student creative artist is selected. So a couple of things just to note before I go over the order of operations, but in terms of the budget, sometimes, as you know, we have additional funds to award because of funds raised during the treasure artist reception. We did receive donations at the event and also previously when people registered for the event. I am still waiting just on a couple of last items to understand how much money we have in the account, but we did receive $785 in donations this year, so that's really great. And I don't think we expended all of the $2,500 allocated to the reception. I'm just, again, waiting on just to know the actual dollar amount there. So in addition to the $2,000 award that is typically given every year, there will be some additional funds for the commission to decide if they would like to issue more than one award or a partial award. So that's all very exciting news. Now, in terms of the order of operations, so at the start of this item, as you all know, we have, well, a couple of things. First, I'm going to turn it over to Maggie Brown, who I believe is going to recuse herself from this item for a very good reason.
Yes, I will be recusing myself from this item as I am also a student creative artist award applicant.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you, Maggie. So you may be excused for the item, and we will see you on the other side. So as last year, because this is a public process and it is recorded, in fairness for all applicants, we did provide everybody with the questions ahead of time, which of course were also worked on by an ad hoc committee and updated this year. So I believe they should be up on your screen now, or Natalie will do that for us so that you can see them. Sorry, it'll just take a second for those to come up so that you can see the questions, as I don't think they were included in your packet. So that should be an easier way to go about issuing them. So last year, if you agree to the same process, Chair Schlelein will, you guys can just determine who wants to take which questions, or if you want to rotate questions, and we must ask the same questions in the same order to the applicants. You can ask follow-up questions or ask for clarification or elaboration on a question, but we want to restrict it to the questions that we have here. In addition to the questions, all of the student creative artist applicants were given access to the rubrics that you have also been provided if you would like to use them in your scoring process. The interview is just a piece of the scoring rubric. Obviously, their artwork and their artist statement also carry weight just to help you in your process of evaluating all of the applicants. So please do feel free to use them. We did provide copies of those to you, I believe, as well. And if there aren't any questions, I will turn it over to the chair to discuss how you would like to allocate the questions.
Do we need a public comment before?
So I believe we can do it before we do the questions. So we can do it now if you'd like. We could have them come into the room and then do it. If they have questions, they could ask. But it's up to you.
Okay, that'd be great. Let's bring them in. So while she's doing that, we can talk about how we want to rotate these. Maybe we just, Morgan starts, then it goes to Lauren, then it goes to Meredith and me, and then just round robin. Yeah. Okay. We could go here, 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 yeah, do that. Doesn't matter, whatever.
Okay.
So start with Morgan. I'll go second. Okay, sounds great. Good evening. Welcome. We're taking public comments if you had any questions before we start. Okay, thank you. Thanks for coming. So we're going to if I remember right, last year you did a different art form than.
Yes, I did. I did physical art. I did drawings. But this year I wasn't able to, I guess, capture both of my two most recent pieces because I entered them into an art exhibit for the county. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to
Thank you.
submit for what I
Okay.
did last year.
I'll let Morgan start.
Hi, Elena. Thank you for coming.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, first question. When were you first aware you were a creative?
When I was younger, I used to doodle a lot in church and family gatherings. And so recently, well, it wasn't too recently, but maybe I was 8 years old. I stumbled upon these doodles that I had done so long ago. And I really realized that I had been drawing people since I was very young.
How do you want your art to impact others?
I want my art to bring people a sense of familiarity and belonging, as well as representation. I want them to be able to connect with my art on an emotional basis and be able to interpret the art on their own lived experiences as well.
What are your artistic strengths and weaknesses?
I think one of my strengths is being able to kind of use a variety of mediums, whether it's expressing myself through poetry or portraits or even spoken word. I think my ability to use a variety is one of my definite biggest strengths. As for weaknesses, I think that it might be difficult for me to kind of venture out of just focusing on like people and society as a whole and maybe depicting other like things such as like nature and things like that can be difficult for me.
What separates your art from other student artists' work?
I believe that my art is different from others because I kind of have this perspective of being raised as a Mayan and Mexican individual. I think that my culture kind of separates me from other artists as it brings a different and diverse perspective to the art world.
Great, thank you. How do you hope your art transforms, and what steps will you take to make that happen?
I really want to continue with poetry in the future. I know I just barely started doing more creative writing, but being able to do so in college and just simply learning from my peers at UC Berkeley will be really cool, and I think that my lived experiences will help me take a leap further into creative writing.
Besides this poem, what are you currently working on?
Besides this poem, I'm currently working on another poem, and it's a tribute to the educators in my life who have gotten me into college and also through the process of applying to college and just becoming a public speaker for sure.
What are you hungry to learn or further explore?
I'm really interested in learning more about politics and how I can incorporate that into my spoken word pieces specifically, because it will be very interesting to see how much I can, I guess, stray from just my culture and into more societal works for sure.
What does art mean to you?
I think because I take so much inspiration from those that I love and the peers that that I'm around, I think that art means to me just simply humanity and just being able to see differentiating cultures and people just experiencing life.
Thank you. Is there anything else you want to share with us?
I'm just really grateful for this opportunity. Thank you so much.
I have a follow-up. Would you mind reading your poem to us?
I would love to.
Thank you.
Let me just pull it on my phone. Sorry, it's taking me a while to find it. Oh, that'd be great. Thank you. So my piece is called Where Roses Are Women. The sorrowful lawn with its dry and brittle grass, an aged rocking chair stained with rust, moaning its sounds of time, and my grandmother is seated, expressing signs of relief as she naps. The pink roses are prickled with the consciousness of the drought. Its influence is evident on the deprived petals that lack color. I thought that the roses looked like women, beautiful and prideful and dressed gracefully without a sign of distress. My grandmother would say the roses looked like simple flowers, and I would question why she thought this somber truth, why her perspective had been stripped of her childhood and her hazel eyes clouded with reality. On my tan, scraped knees, I watched these gorgeous and blushing women and pleaded to stay ignorant and blissful. I hope to never acquire a view so muddled with maturity as my grandmother's. While I watched the roses, she stood still behind me with a reassuring hand on my shoulder. And she, too, wished for me to remain naive and view the world for what it was, a grand and beautifully colored refuge where roses are women. Thank you.
Thanks. Other questions? Hard to follow that.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much.
Next up, we have Kendall. Caton, is it Caton? Thanks, Kendall. I think,
Yeah, maybe.
where did we leave off?
Okay.
You
I think that's good.
Yeah, go ahead and
Yeah,
start.
thanks.
Okay, first question.
Hi, thank you so much for coming,
Hi.
for
Yeah, thank
applying.
you.
When were you first aware you were a creative?
Well, since I was younger, of course, I was always super into art and interested in it. I used to actually say I was arting, and then I'd say markers were merkers. But I recently took a step back into art after I decided to randomly take the AP art course after only taking Art 1 2 years prior. And I didn't realize how much I'd fall back in love with it until I was met with a bunch of resources and an awesome teacher who taught me so much that I had so much potential, and that just really helped me realize how much I loved art. So this year, for sure.
How do you want your art to impact others?
My investigation is centered around how the effect of nature it can affect humans, and I would really like people to see my art and resonate with that idea. And although it's not very visible to like the plain eye when you first look at it, I feel like when people learn more about the message behind it, it's very impactful.
What are your artistic strengths and weaknesses?
Definitely a strength of mine is being able to come up with a concept for a piece fairly fast, and I can just dive right into it. Though that's also a weakness because I feel like I lack brainstorming sometimes, and that will lead me to make a mistake early on. But I'm also I'd like to be able to go out of my comfort zone a little bit more. I tend to stick to the mediums that I'm comfortable with, though I feel like I should definitely sometimes try to explore out more into different forms of medium.
What separates your art from other student artists' work?
Well, I do believe that since my art stems from like the same concept, that's a way for me to distinguish myself, and I love bright colors. I always try to use bright colors, and yeah, my investigation is from the same thing, but there's also ways for me to make each piece look a little bit different.
How do you hope your art transforms, and what steps will you take to get it there?
As I grow older and experience the world around me, I feel like my art hopefully will become more complex as I go and I learn a little bit more about art. So I hope as I grow older, I can evolve more as an artist.
What are you currently working on that you're kind of jazzed about?
Well, I just finished like my final project for the class, which was a multimedia piece with daisies from a different angle on this side, and then a mandala on this side with alcoholic markers, and then this was acrylic paint. And then on the bottom, I did a graphite drawing of a person looking up, entranced by the daisies and the mandala. And then currently, I'm working on a realistic watercolor portrait of my favorite singer, Lana Del Rey, which I'm excited about.
What are you hungry to learn or explore further?
Well, I'm really hungry to, again, step out of my comfort zone and maybe experiment more with different maybe oil paints or like oil pastels, and also maybe start a new investigation. I haven't really quite determined what that'll be, but the school year is ending, so hopefully I can work more over the summer.
What does art mean to you?
Art is a way for me to just feel unique and apart from others, and I feel like it's just a really special thing that I can enjoy and other people can also enjoy, but everyone's different in their art.
Is there anything else you want to share with us?
Not specifically. I'm really excited, and I feel like this award would really help me go into my dream of going to a four-year university to study nursing.
Can you tell us about the materials you used on the pieces you submitted?
So every piece is a little bit different. I use color pencils, graphite, also acrylic paint to touch up some of the stuff, and then watercolor, and I also outline a lot with Sharpie.
I don't have any follow-up. Thank you
Any
so much.
follow-ups?
Anyone else have follow-up?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think if Sophia is here, would you come in, Sophia? Welcome. I know this is a little intimidating, us up here. I've spoken to city council and found my voice shaking occasionally, so it's feel like the Wizard of Oz sometimes. So, but we're all artists, and so we know what it's like a little bit. So,
Thank you. I'm feeling really nervous, but I'm really excited. This
Great.
is really important to me.
great. It's important we do this. We all are very passionate about this.
Thank you so much for coming. When were you first aware you were a creative?
Well, for as long as I can remember, I've always been a really creative person. From a young age, I loved drawing, just drawing little comic strips here and there, all sorts of things like that. Also singing, like, I think it had to do a lot with my mother, that she's so into the arts that she kind of allowed me to be able to pursue that and grow with that.
How do you want your artwork to impact, or how do you want people to see it?
Well, my art, I try to make it gender neutral because I want people, regardless of their gender, to be able to connect and resonate with my art. I want them to look at my art and have a moment of vulnerability, because I make my art from a vulnerable place. It's how I show my emotions, and I want people to look at that and look back and reflect on their own emotions.
Thank you.
What are your artistic strengths and weaknesses?
Well, I'll start off with my weaknesses. One of my weaknesses is that I tend to get in my own head. I usually, if something isn't going right, I take a break and I actually end up starting a new project, which ends up becoming lots of little projects. I do finish, but it's usually with the medium. I try to challenge myself though, so I'll continue with the medium. So one of my weaknesses is definitely watercolors. now for my strengths. I think my strength could also be that I work on lots of little projects. It probably has a lot to do with, I'd say, like my ADHD. But it works because of I'm so emotional at times. It allows me to be really bold and vivid with my art, and I think that it's helped me really explore colors. I like that I'm able to go really bold with my colors and not feel so ashamed about it.
What separates your art from other student artists' work?
Well, I'd say one of the things is definitely the bold colors, also the lines. I am not very traditional. It's my art kind of pops out, it looks at you, it's very straightforward. And the message isn't always straightforward, but I want it to be able to capture people's eyes as soon as they walk into a room and they look at it and they're immediately entranced by the colors and the bold lines, all of that, basically.
How do you hope your art transforms, and what steps will you take to get there?
I wanted to start looking more professional. I can sometimes be very sporadic with my art, and I want to slow down and take some time and really perfect what I'm doing. I also want to, I think I also want to take on new mediums. I tend to focus more on acrylics. That's really my strong suit. But I'm hoping to really start working on, again, watercolors. I'm good with pastels and colored pencils, but I really want to be able to really utilize everything that I have at my disposal.
Your statement interested me. I was taken by some of your concepts, and besides, in terms of media, what are you currently working on, and both conceptually and in terms of media?
Well, currently I'm actually developing some new characters for a comic. I already started like storyboarding. I've made cover art, and then as I was working, one of the characters in the comic has a face that's very unique. It's mostly built out of shapes, so I actually started to animate that character because I wanted to develop the concept of how I think it would blink. And that's currently what I'm working on, and I'm really excited about it because ever since I was little, comics were my thing. So going back to that now has really helped me as an artist because I see how I've progressed and how I've grown and how I've matured with my art.
What are you hungry to learn or explore further?
I am very eager to learn about animation. I love my art, but I've always been so intrigued with how I can make it move. And animation, I think, is the perfect way to house that. I want my art to be shown, but I also want it to have some sort of movement, some sort of action. So I am just so I've been trying really hard. I've been trying to like even take courses because I really want to learn how to animate properly and learn how I can kind of elevate my art.
What does art mean to you?
Well, for me, art is a way that I'm able to express and communicate to others. There was a time in my life where I was suffering, I would say mentally, and art was the way that I could connect with my family again. It was what allowed me to focus on myself and become a better person, because there were so many things that I had never really addressed about myself. But with art, it's really just, I feel like it's something really shameless and personal and vulnerable, and it's just really transformative. If art means a lot to you, then I think it should deeply reflect who you are as a person.
Is there anything else you want us to know?
No, just that I'm really grateful for this opportunity to speak with all of you today.
Can you tell us anything about one of the pieces and the materials you've used? Any of your favorite pieces?
I'd say my favorite piece is the One Night Drive. It's one of the ones I submitted. It's the biggest piece, and it is the one that's the darkest of all of them. So I dropped the colors a little bit. That one was done solely with acrylic, which is something I had never done before. And I did it to deal with emotions of grief, so that's why it's really important to me. And I think that's why I wanted to do it solely in acrylic, because I wanted it to be traditional, and I wanted it to really showcase the texture of the painting, because that had a lot to do with how I was feeling at the time.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it. Next up, we have Kendall Clements. Welcome.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
Good.
Hello.
Good. So we're going through rotation, and everyone has the same questions.
Okay.
Hi, Kendall. Thank you for coming. When were you first aware you were a creative?
Yeah, so the first memory I have is in 5th grade. I went to Presswood Elementary School, and I remember we had this art project where we each got to take home a camera for a couple days. And I remember most of the students kind of just wanted to get it over with quickly, and they just kind of took their photos at school, by the playground, or just try to turn it in because they didn't really want to have to think about it that much, and the photos would end up being in the art show. Whereas I really wanted to take the camera home and like go exploring and create a story, whereas others just kind of wanted to capture something in the moment. I wanted to make something out of it, kind of like a movie, but a picture. And so I just kind of realized that I thought differently than my peers and the way I wanted to photograph.
Thank you for sharing. I'm a 5th grade teacher, so very cool to hear.
Yeah.
How do you want your art to impact others or land?
Yeah, so a lot of my art kind of has to do with things that aren't often talked about, things that people want to stay quiet about because it can be uncomfortable. And I really want my art to make people think more about their personal experiences, their thoughts on the topic, how it's impacted their identity, because my artwork, a lot of it is about like eating disorders or menstrual cycles or drug abuse, things that people just feel uncomfortable talking about. Like you don't talk about that on an everyday basis. So I kind of wanted to introduce those things, because even if you haven't experienced it personally, you probably know someone that has, and it's shaped who you are. So I wanted to do that in a more subtle way. So if you look at my photographs, they're more like colorful and more childlike and nostalgic, to kind of take away some of that kind of fear or tension, to really get you thinking. So I just really want people to think about things they normally wouldn't.
What are your artistic strengths and weaknesses?
I think my strength is that I think I'm pretty good at color theory. My portfolio has lots of colors, and they kind of blend together well to like encompass the girlhood part but distract you from like the loss of innocence part. But I do think one of my weaknesses is that a lot of my portfolio is more digital work, and I would like to do more film photography and traditional processes, so I've been working on more lately to like become a better photographer.
What separates your art from other student artists' work?
I think there's two things that separate my art. First, like all the pieces I submitted connect, and they all kind of have a central message and theme to me, like because I've just been exploring a lot, like in my work, like different ways the patriarchy can affect girlhood and identity. So I just think like all my works kind of blend together. And then also another thing that I think makes my work stand out is that it's less in your face of like the themes, it's more subtle because I want to leave my artwork up to interpretation. So like for example, like I submitted a piece with hands and pills and like beads for like friendship bracelet making, and instead of it being like, oh, this art piece is just about this, it can be left up to interpretation. Like, do the pills represent mental health issues or more like medical issues or drug abuse? And I just want my work to be able to reach a broader audience. So that's what I think makes my artwork stand out.
Thank you for sharing. How do you hope your art transforms, and what steps will you take to get there?
Okay, so as of lately, my artwork has more focused on like the teenage girl experience or younger girls. And in college, I really want to like be able to explore it, but for like older generations, because like, you know, I'm only 17, so these are how these topics have affected me now and like when I was younger and other people I know. But there's a difference in like age groups of how these things can affect you in your life. So I really want to kind of have it be more broad. And I also want there to be more subjects and like more people within my artwork, more people involved, because as of now it's more at a smaller scale. So I just really want to expand that in college.
What are you currently working on, and what are you excited about?
Yeah, so there's a couple pieces I'm working on right now. The first one has to do with sexual harassment, because 9 in 10 women experience it, and the first time I experienced it, I think I was 11 years old. So my concept is to kind of have pieces of clothing from all age groups and do a still life, and I want to do it outside and like something like somewhere that's like really beautiful, to kind of have a contrast in like how ugly sexual harassment is and combine that together. And then I'm also working on something else about like peer pressure, and I want that one to be like more of a group portrait style instead of a still life.
What are you hungry to learn or explore further?
Okay, so something I've been really interested in lately is timed exposures. So I just like the other week I was doing some work in the studio, and I have this idea where I want to have like one person with like hands reaching out to them, offering different like paths of life or different things that society like pressures them to do or like wants them to do. And so I did it in the studio with like, you know, lighting and like a backdrop, but I really want to try doing that and taking it outside during the daytime. So I have to like learn more techniques about how to make that work and look well. So I'm gonna be learning more about timed exposures. And then also I just really want to learn more about like traditional photograph making. Like I'm interested in like salt prints and cyanotypes, and I just want to find like other ways they were able to make photographs back in like the 1800s when we didn't have digital cameras like we have today.
What does art mean to you?
What art means to me is that it gives me a voice. Like I said earlier, the things I talk about in my art, people kind of get uncomfortable talking about. And what I've realized through photography is that sometimes like a picture, an image speaks a lot louder than words, because a lot of times people just ramble on, but it doesn't have as much as an impact as one image. And also like there's kind of a fear with words and saying the wrong thing or not getting your point across. So I really think art just gives me an opportunity to get my point across, give myself a voice, let other people hear what I have to say, and bring things to attention, because like I said, like people don't like talking about the things that I want to talk about, but the reality is millions of people experience, eating disorders or harassment or whatever the thing is. And I think we should be talking about it, and art just really helps bring attention things that people don't like talking about.
Is there anything else you want us to know?
Just thank you for this opportunity, and just that I'm really passionate about like art, and I'm a really creative person, and even like aside from photography, I'm really like interested in like painting too. I'm in the art club at my school, and I'm in the campus beautification club where we do murals, and that I'm really excited to continue my journey in college.
Thanks. We can definitely hear your passion.
Thank you.
One last question. What was your favorite piece, and why was it?
My favorite piece is the portrait I submitted of the girl with the mirror and the lipstick. And the reason why is because that's like the topic I can definitely relate to most is like beauty standards. And I really liked the way the lighting in the back turned out. That took like a long time to really perfect with like the orange and the pink, because I had to like put these sheets on top of the lights, and I was really proud of that one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, Liam. Hi, Liam. Thank you for coming.
Hello.
We're going to run through the questions here. We're all artists ourselves, and so we know what it's like to bring your work out.
Nice.
Hi, Liam. Thank you for coming.
Hi.
When were you first aware you were a creative?
I was first aware. I drew this piece. I know this isn't. I know I'm a musician, right? But this is about a drawing. And I showed the drawing to a friend of mine, right? And well, he said, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Okay." Interesting response, but it made me. I thought more about it, and I was like, that means it was, maybe different from what my friend was expecting, So I felt like that, was a little more creative.
How old were you then?
This wasn't even that long ago.
Okay.
I was maybe like 16.
Cool. Thank you.
How do you want your work to impact others when you're playing? How do you want them to how do you want it to land?
Well, I want more people to realize is that with art and even music specifically, with music, there's all this theory and stuff involved that people like to throw in there, and I just think that there's no rules. You don't have to apply rules to what you make. You can make anything. There's always going to be people who will find it interesting, people who think it will sound nice or, provoke a thought or something. There's always going to be, as long as you put feeling into it, like your own feeling, then there's no need for all these rules.
What are your artistic strengths and weaknesses?
One of my strengths, I would think, is that I like to take inspiration from other materials. My favorite guitarist, Ed O'Brien from Radiohead, he dabbles a lot in just making sounds. Doesn't even have to be sounds with the guitar even. Just, you could just tap on anything. And I mean, you can always just manipulate it, do whatever you want with it. Creates a nice sound. And a weakness I find is that I'm just indecisive.
What separates your art from other student artists' work?
Well, to be fair, I haven't really seen my competition's art. I mean, I shouldn't say competition. They're fellow artists. But I'm not really familiar with, the types of things that they create. But I would say that, mine is just like, it touches, your sense of sound. And I feel like sound and music is just the best way to, reach someone's soul,
How do you hope your work transforms, and what steps will you take to get there?
Well, right now my work isn't really tied to I mean, of course, people could you could pick out a message from anything, right? You could look at any piece of artwork, find your own meaning in it, which is like mine. I would just leave my work ambiguous, but I want to start tying more real issues to it, like instead of just being all experimental, no vocals. I kind of want to start like tying vocals into it. I want to be more like punk, activist type of stuff, like, real world issues, like tied to it and just bring awareness to more things.
What are you currently working on and excited about?
Currently I'm working on becoming more of a rhythm guitarist. I don't really like leads. I'm not gonna lie. I think that's not only is it a lot of pressure, but I find that a lot of leads in bands are not the most desirable people. I like saying the foundation for the rest of everything else, and I feel like rhythm guitar is the best way to do that.
What are you hungry to learn or explore further?
Well, I do want to be a rhythm guitarist. I want to start saying messages to my work. Working on vocals. I mean, that's not on the top of my priorities. Anyone can start singing. That's fine. Yeah, what's that?
What does art mean to you?
Art is a lot of things, and I find that although art, obviously people express themselves with it, right? I find that it's more than just about the person who created the art. It's about everyone who experiences this art. I feel like art is a method for people to love, for people to live. Like you can, just any kind of purpose you can find within art, I feel like has meaning to it.
Is there anything else you want us to know?
I was a bass guitarist actually to start with. I didn't actually start playing sixth string till like a year and a half ago. I was a bass guitarist before then. I always loved rhythm above everything else. Just saying foundations for any other kind of music that gets added to it is just, I think that's beautiful.
How old were you when you started playing?
I think I was 11 or 10 years old when I started playing bass. I didn't really tie any particular meaning to when I played bass because I wasn't passionate about it back then. But when I started playing guitar, I started getting passionate about it, and I started bringing my own things into it and developing my own way of playing.
I thought your choice of music, the Smashing Pumpkins song, was interesting in the way you did it.
Yeah.
With whatever that sound was. What's that called?
It clean tone to start and then distortion.
Right.
Yeah.
Was interesting. Why do you like that?
I feel like like I said, this ties to touching people's soul. Is that, well, you can you entice them with the clean melodic sound, right? You pull them in, and then you strike them with some ugly sound. A lot of people like to call it ugly sound. I think it's an amazing sound personally. But play in a way that just they're not appalled by it. It draws them in more. And I think I don't know, the Smashing Pumpkins do a really good job of that.
Thank you. That's very enlightening, I think.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
Alexis? Welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
Mm,
We're all artists here.
okay.
So, and a couple art teachers as well. So, this is sometimes challenging, a challenging forum for artists. Morgan will start us.
Okay.
Hi, Alexis. Thank you for coming.
Hello.
When were you first aware that you were a creative?
I was first aware when I was a little kid, and I was interested in the architecture of London and its scenery. And I first wanted to try like sketching the Big Ben and like the Eye of London and stuff like that, but it never really came out good. So I would always just try and get better and better every day to try and make it look better. And I don't know, it was always just a way to like get my mind off things.
How do you want people to feel with your art? How do you want it to impact people?
I want to be a tattoo artist, so like I want to put permanent images on their body and like make a memory for them.
What are your artistic strengths and weaknesses?
I'm very good at like my proportions and shading and like the fundamentals. And my weakness is probably drawing without reference, because I can like never remember the reference by head.
What separates your art from other students' artwork?
I get like professional help, and I go to the community center for art classes like weekly, and that's basic.
How do you hope your art transforms, and what steps will you take to get there?
I wanted to just look more pleasing to the eye, and like I don't know how to explain it. There's like what's it called? When you feel like your art isn't good enough to like show off. I want to like get over that.
What are you currently working on and are excited about?
I'm currently working on like perfecting calligraphy, cause a lot of like people want calligraphy tattoos, and that's what I'm trying to get better at.
What are you hungry to learn or explore further?
I'm hungry to learn like urban life, cause like it was something like I started trying to draw at first, and I was never really good at it. So I just wanna like learn more about it and stuff.
What does art mean to you?
Art like art is like peace to me. It like brings me to the moment and like helps me escape my like struggles. I don't know.
Is there anything else you want us to know?
Like when I was in middle school, I kind of stopped drawing because my mom got really sick, and like after she passed away, it like kind of brought me back into it to like enjoy it more and just to get my mind off things.
She'd probably be happy about that.
Yeah.
What's your favorite piece that you submitted?
My
why?
favorite piece is probably the Mary piece, cause I don't know. It just whenever I was drawing it, I was just thinking about my mom and like how she was in a better place.
Thanks very much. Appreciate
Thank
all
you.
your work. Is it August or August? August. Thank you. Come on up. Welcome.
Hi.
You're among a lot of artists, so hopefully you won't be too nervous.
I'm very nervous.
It's a little Wizard of Ozzy here. So
That's great.
Did you also apply last year?
I did apply last
year. Your name
year.
is so familiar. Cool. Thanks for coming back.
Yes, I came back with a different medium this time as well.
Very
so.
cool. When were you first aware you were creative?
I was first aware of being a creative, I would say, during elementary school. Particularly, my most fond memories are in 4th grade. I had a lot of enjoyment doing a lot of the school projects, and I found myself wanting to do more at home, and that's what really began my future in doing art.
How do you want your work, which is pretty impactful, I have to say, how do you want your work to impact others as they look at it?
Beyond my photography, a lot of the other mediums I do, I like to create to give people something, to do something with it, essentially. So if I have sewing or ceramics works, I want it to be something that they can use. However, with my photography, my biggest goal is to give comfort to those who have had similar experiences to me, and those who have been disturbed from having a peaceful life. It means a lot to me when they can see my images and my work, and they feel that sense of relatability and feel like they're not alone.
What are your artistic strengths and weaknesses?
I would say my artistic strengths have to be in my passion to create art. When I have an idea or inspiration, I tend to put my heart towards it, and I'm able to create something that makes me really happy and something that I can be proud of in the future. However, I would say my biggest weakness is that growing up, I got into this mindset of having to create art for other people rather than myself, and I really struggled with creating something that made me happy while also trying to make other people happy, even though that wasn't a necessity. And so that was my biggest weakness that I'm still trying to overcome at times.
What separates your art from other students' work?
I believe what separates me from other people is that rather than trying to create that product of something that other people enjoy, I really started to hone in on what I feel and what I want to create. And so I'm able to put a lot more soul into my work. And I know that when people see that, they're able to feel that from my work. And I hope that I can keep doing that as well.
How do you hope your art transforms, and what steps will you take to get there?
I hope my art transforms into my daily life and that I can represent myself with it. The steps I will take are to continue pursuing art through my career and making others happy as well as myself. Definitely wanting to do a lot more with my hands and whatnot rather than doing like a corporate life.
What are you currently working on, and what are you excited about?
What I'm currently working on is expressing myself through makeup and fashion. So I like to put on what you would call clown makeup and putting on layers of clothing and accessories. They make me really happy. I make my own clothes as well since I sew. And through photography, I plan to fight for my representation for my communities and for my rights as a person through my photography portraits as well.
What are you hungry to learn or explore further?
I would say as a creative person, I love learning new mediums and working with hands-on projects. The medium I have grown to crave is ceramics. I love creating art that is three-dimensional and able to grasp and touch and feel around and turn it and whatnot, especially functionability items like mugs and pottery works. So I really crave to learn more about pottery and continue to use it as a medium.
What does art mean to you?
Art to me is everything. It has helped me bring life to me when everything felt dull, a way for me to be myself without a right or wrong way, and given me a reason to live through the worst times of my so far life. It will always be a part of me and my soul, and growing up, it really helped me discover my own identity and who I am, and I will continue to do that throughout my life, and art has been everything to me because of that.
Is there anything else you want us to know?
Without my school programs and the support from my friends and family, I would not be here today. I would not have the resources that I have without doing those school programs and knowing what I love the most. So I want to thank all of the people who have supported me through my art life, especially my mom for being here. So that it means a lot to me, just as much as art means to me, to get that support from other people.
Could you talk about your favorite piece and what in the pieces you've submitted?
I believe my favorite piece is Floating Deep, because while that one was much more of a personal one, it represented my struggles with my own mental health and showing how I can still manage in those hard times with myself. It is a big reflection on that, and that's why it's my favorite piece. To be able to see that and me being in that photo makes me really happy.
Thank you. Really appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
So we will have more interviews next week on the 22nd.
Correct. So we had 7 interviews tonight, and we will have 6 next week. So, thank you.
Thanks. So we're at 4.2 on the agenda, which is the SVFD 9/11 Memorial Public Art Proposal. And I believe we have someone in the room perhaps that might be interested in that, just by the uniform.
Yes, we do. We have Bob Norbaum with us tonight. Bob, if you want to come to the podium, I'll just do a very slight introduction, and then I'll pass it over to Bob to talk more. So the Sonoma Valley Fire District had been working on a 9/11 memorial, which they came to the city to talk about the installation. We said, oh, we actually have a public art program for that. It's been so seldom used that we have any permanent art proposals that we didn't really have. It was not really well known, we're finding. Obviously, we all know that on this body. That's one of the things that we're working on, is making sure that our public art program, both for permanent and temporary art, is more accessible. So Bob was kind enough to put a formal proposal together for us today for the 9/11 memorial that they plan to install on city property, which is Firehouse Station number 1, which is on 2nd Street, yes? 2nd Street West. I get my numbers sometimes confused over there. And I will let Bob speak more to the project itself. I wanted to call out specifically that typically with permanent art projects, there is a process outlined in our art policy. This doesn't follow that exactly because they were pretty far down the road, which is not necessarily a requirement, but just that our process, because it's not following exactly that, we kind of are going through a proposal phase. And then there is a potential request for some public art funds to help support the installation of the project if you so wish. So I will pass that along. That's all up for your determination. You can see there's kind of, I just laid out all the possibilities on the recommendation. This would be a recommendation to the council. Council does the official adoption. And there would be, because we didn't program any funds from the public art fund to be used this year, there would just need to be a little bit of a, it's a technical on my sides, but to make sure that those funds are available for use, because they're in funds and things to get interest, so that we don't necessarily have them at the ready. So there would need to be a little bit of work on that end. That's just for information, because this is our first. So I told Bob that this is a great opportunity for us to go through this process, both as staff and as the commission, and to thank you so much for being here tonight to talk to us about the 9/11 memorial, and then the commission may have some questions for you as well.
Okay, great, thank you. That was a great lead-in. Sorry for my voice. My allergies are kicking into high gear after this weekend, so I'll do the best to get through this. Honestly, so I'll back up to, we were notified that there was a salvage company in the East Bay that had pieces of steel left over from the World Trade Center, and as firefighters, that's very deep in our roots to, support the firefighters that were risked their lives, and 343 firefighters died to try and save people there at the World Trade Center. So there's other memorials around. Napa has one, Santa Rosa Fire has one at their training tower. So we realized there was still availability to do this with our fire department, and we thought this was a great idea. Our chief, Steve Aker, was able to secure the piece of steel, and it's sitting in our parking lot at the fire station. Sorry, I don't want to be too loud. So I honestly did not, I speak loud. I honestly did not consider it art until I went to the city like, hey, I need a building permit for this because I know it's a structure that, needs to be installed correctly. And I was kind of blindsided by the fact that I've got a piece of art and I have to be here and do this, and I'm okay with that. I'm good. That's why we didn't go through the process. We didn't even realize, and we're in a city building. I manage the facilities, all the fire stations here in the valley, which is why I'm bringing this to you, because it lands in my plate to get it done. We really, really want to see it at the fire station here in Sonoma. That's our flagship station. And in addition to that, we had already kind of planned a memorial there with the sign. I think that's part of the project, but I'll explain it to you. The existing sign that we just put in, the new sign, I was in the building last year getting that one through the sign commission, which I knew I had to do that. So I was well prepared for that. And we were approved to put a new sign in. And one of the reasons it's where it's at and the size that it is because that is actually a memorial wall for our firefighters. So we're going to honor any firefighters that have put in, 30 years of service, and we'll put a plaque in there, in memoriam. And we also are going to have a line of duty, which we hope we never have to fill up the line of duty death section. But, that's our goal, is to recognize those who have served this community for a long time and a long period, being able to recognize them with this memorial. So that's when we did that first, and then we would have put this whole thing together in a package had we had this piece of steel, but we did not. And so now we do, and we thought this is a perfect addition for our memorial wall. A little explanation on the bell. Hopefully you've never been to a firefighter's funeral, but if you have, the bell signals the last alarm, which is significant for the firefighters, and it's a tradition that they have done for 200 plus years, and that's what the bell is there for. So if we have a little gathering for somebody there, we will be able to recognize them properly and get them on the memorial wall. So again, that's why we kind of sidestepped a few things. I had some other drawings that we had done in preliminarily by the designer of this, and by far this one was fit the best in that location. And so we had already kind of moved forward with this in this proposal. So that's what you have in front of you. It's supported by our Volunteer Firefighter Association to fund it. However, we're trying to seek funds. When we got it approved, the ask for me was to try and find other funding sources. Our Volunteer Firefighter Association is a 501c3 nonprofit. They actively fundraise in the community. Our 4th of July is going to be coming up soon. That's one of the events that we put on for the community. And we also, the main mission of that group is to support operational needs of the department. A good example was this last winter with the floods. We had some folks that had to do a swiftwater rescue, and we realized at that time that our gear wasn't quite up to speed, and decided that we needed to buy some new swiftwater gear. So our volunteers, and it wasn't in our operational budget. So those kind of things that you're outside of our normal planning budget, our volunteer association always steps up and helps to that. So we're using funds that we would use to buy equipment for this sign, but they are committed to, or this memorial, sorry, they are committed to funding this. Just the ask was to try and seek some outside funding. So that's the background on the funding. The the artwork that's been done so far, the drawings and preliminary artwork have been donated by this designer. So,
Commissioners have questions?
One of my questions was with the well design, and maybe you just answered it. So they're donating the services. Was there any, competitive bids? But if they're donating their services, it sounds like for the design, and then also the skyline of New York. Is that something that's specific artist designed, or is that, obviously we don't want to go with any copyrights of anything. So I'm just not sure where.
yeah. So unfortunately, the artist was supposed to be here tonight and had a family emergency and couldn't make it. We discussed that doesn't have to be, exactly. He thought that was a good idea to present that because to kind of explain that it was the World Trade Center. Excuse me. Also on the bell, that the wording that's on that bell was just pulled out of a design. We're going to put the last alarm. He didn't have that when we did this, but we're going to put what the last alarm means underneath the bell on that plaque. So I kind of looked at the wording. I'm like, that's not even English. What did you get there? He goes, so that was just a design concept. But yes, and we did, we chose well design. We competitively bid with other sign manufacturers sign folks to do the sign in front of the station. And he put together the best proposal when we were doing the sign. And I felt like, after we did the sign and we got this piece of steel, he said, I'd love to be involved in this and we'll donate our services to, get you moving forward and get what we're doing here. So,
and so remind me the budget breakdown of this again. I believe it was $57,000. And was that then 100% for materials and no payment because he's donating his services?
No, that's not donated for the actual building of the monument.
Yeah,
so
building of the monument, but the design.
Just the
portion is
design
being-
part,
okay.
yes. But what's going to happen after, if this gets approved, then the next step is we have to go to the building department. And even prior to that, I don't want to expend any funds till I know we can do this. It's going to have to go to an engineer because it's a pretty heavy piece of steel, and the building officials already told me, you need to get that thing engineered. So there's going to be a cost to that. Also in that, we think we can reduce that figure down a little bit, quote. There's a crane to install it. We have a forklift at the fire station. We think we can manage some of those costs. So he put together the whole package from start to finish of, having the plate welded on it. I've got a steel company in town that's going to donate the plate. So I anticipate it's going to be less than $50,000, but that's kind of where we're at with it right now. Yes. It's a cast in place piece of concrete. And then it's going to be, securely mounted to the existing concrete that is there, that the sign's sitting on. It's also going to need electrical installed, and that's another reason why I would like to go with the sign, the person that built the sign, because he's going to be able to use the same electrical source for the sign. So they're both on a photovoltaic cell. That way, we don't have to turn them on. They'll be on public display 24 hours a day, and the lights will come on automatically with the sign. So that's all part of his proposal.
Other questions?
Yeah, I was just wondering. I like the photo display, whatever you call the lights. How tall do those go?
So they're not going to light up anything beyond the sign. There's open sky there, so they're just LED accent lights, and we're going to keep them to a minimum. I don't want this to be a huge, like we're selling used cars and got the big sale going on. So we don't want that either. We're going to make sure that what we get is going to fit into our existing fire station lighting scheme, so to speak. I know that kind of shows in the drawing, that they go way high. Like in
Yeah,
New
the
York.
one next to it.
Yeah,
I was like, oh,
that's.
wow.
I'm like, why did you even put that in there?
Okay.
Because we're
It's a
not
cool
going.
concept.
We're not doing anything like that.
Okay.
They're just accent lights to light up the art. So good question.
I had one more question too. So if you're just walking down the street as a passerby, is it as nice and visible right there, or do you kind of have to go into?
You'll be able to see it, but you won't be able to where we're locating it so it doesn't block. We have an existing doorway there, so we don't want to block the door. You'll be able to see it, but to fully see the bell and all that, you're going to have to walk up the sidewalk. It's definitely something that you need to walk up to be able to see the full effect of it.
So you'll have the Sonoma Valley Fire District sign. That's intact. That won't move.
No.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
And then around from it is the other.
Yes, and what I didn't have on this yet, because we're firefighters and this isn't like our main thing, but we are also going to put some benches in the back. There's plenty of room. If you're looking at, I'm looking at the TV, but you guys can see it on your screen. On the left side where the flagpole is, right behind that's all cement, and that's going to be an area where we're going to put some benches as well, so folks can come and sit on a bench and take a look at our public art, as we're calling it.
So I don't know if it's been explained much, but we're still in our infancy in our public art policy plan.
Yes.
And have yet to spend any money, frankly, on anything in the 20 years that the commission has existed. We've funded the Student Artist Award and the Treasure Artist, and that's pretty much all we've done, even though we've had a public art policy. So we looked at it and did some considerable work over the last year, revising it, bringing it up to date, and then starting to realize that we're just now at the starting line of how we're going to do this. So it's interesting for us to do this as a little bit of a test case, and yet we have a study session where we've requested at some point coming up to have a study session so we can delve more deeply into what some of the things that we've written actually mean in real terms, in reality. I think that this has a lot of heart and a lot of meaning, and it's a very valuable concept that is exciting. I don't think we're ready to donate or expend money yet, because we're still trying to work on a map of the city and where we think the beautification projects need to happen. So we're learning here, and
I understand.
things are not real clear for us yet. Other thoughts?
I do have a question for Sarah. You had mentioned that we have $70,000 approximately in the Public Art Fund. And then, while it's not confirmed, would you foresee us receiving the additional $25,000 July 1 from council this year?
So I haven't got any indication that that's not happening, but in past years, as you know, when financial futures are uncertain, and I think it's fair to say that there's a lot of uncertainty in the world of budgeting in this era. You know, I never want to try to see into the future. I do know, as you have heard, council is incredibly supportive of public art, especially in the city, and as on the flip side of that uncertainty is a very strong desire to see more public artwork in the city of Sonoma for a variety of reasons, but one that we know is we are a hospitality visitor-based community, and public art projects and bring in a certain amount of economic development that they're very interested in. So, I can give you that information that I have at the ready. We are going through budget processes. The $70,000 does include the $25,000 that was included in last year's budget. It's not transfer right away, so it's not showing there on the balance sheet, but it is it was authorized. $25,000 from the year before, and then that small portion that was left over from the library remodel project. Before there were records, I was trying to get, I was trying to find the records, like, we don't have anything from whenever that was, the 90s. So there is a little bit more. We didn't think that there was 70,000. We thought that there was a lesser amount, so that is good news. And like I said, I don't have any indication that they're not going to issue the $25,000, and then of course we're still waiting on the fee study to learn if council is going to consider the additional 1% on other types of projects other than city projects for a potential funding source. So there are a few things out there in the air. Like I said, came right at either the perfect time or the most complicated time. But again, the funds are there. They're just in interest-bearing areas, so it might not. They would just take some time to shuffle them over.
I appreciate that, and thank you for your presentation, and thank you for what you do for our community. And I do think that this is a very important memorial for our community and to honor those that served and passed in 9/11. My personal recommendation at this time is to approve it to go to City Council, but I think I would like more time here on the commission to address our funding and budget for projects moving forward. I could foresee us possibly giving $5,000 or $10,000 to this in the future. I don't think we could give that large of an amount because of projects that we really would like to see throughout Sonoma for the community, like temporary projects. But I almost would encourage to come back after we do a study session on that to see what funding we would have available for these types of projects.
I think that would be fine. I was going to ask if we can at least get it moving forward, if you all are in agreement that this is a good thing to do for the community and us. If we can get it moving forward, I have the funds to get it started, and it's realistically probably not going to be ready to go till the end of the year anyway, because we have to go through engineering and all that. So anything that you can do to help us, if it fits in your plans and in the future, that would be great. The guys also want me to start a GoFundMe page or things like that too. So we haven't really explored other options. I'm just trying to get the ball rolling and get this project moving, because like I said, the piece of steel is sitting on a pallet in our parking lot, so it means a lot to us to get something moving. So thank you.
And I agree that it is an important project. We support obviously the fire department and all they've done, and we're kind of a hoop to jump through. Whether we can afford anything, that's probably more our problem than do we approve it. So if we can approve without funding, we might entertain that with a look to the future, to as soon as we get budget numbers and get our priorities straight, then we can put a little placeholder on it and think about it. Other comments?
I agree with both you and Mary.
I think I just had a clarifying question for Sarah. So if we did approve it without any public art fund support, they could come back later maybe with a proposal for some if we had a clear answer, and we could move forward if we wanted to?
Yes, so my recommendation would be, sounds like the consensus would be to recommend to approve the project as a public art installation, permanent public art installation at Fire Station 1, and with the direction or caveat in that motion to bring it back to the commission in August probably or November to reconsider the funding needs, as those might change for you as well, it sounds like.
It might.
And that if there was a need to bring something sooner, just as we always would, there's always potential for special meetings if there was a need to really address the funding question sooner than that. So it would be a recommend to approve for City Council on the movement on the public art project, and then with the direction to come back at a future meeting to discuss the financial contribution question.
If we approve it as a public art fund, then we're like, this body, whoever's on it, is responsible for it for the end of time because we've labeled it as like a public art piece, or how does that
Well,
work?
it's city property, so that does go into it with maintenance, and they provided their maintenance. It currently would not require city maintenance. It's city property, but it is the fire district is taking responsibility for the
tenant.
maintenance of that. Yeah. But in terms of the maintenance, when people want to donate something to the plaza, for example, they want to install something in the plaza, the city parks department ends up inheriting the maintenance. That's not the case here. So there isn't, other than the request of funds, while it would certainly be an asset to the city, a lot of most of our art, public art on our map is monuments. This would join that, and I think would be part of that kind of larger art experience, but it wouldn't necessarily be the maintenance that would not be a portion of the city budget moving forward. Did I understand your question? Okay.
I forgot to add this would be the second public art project located at the fire station. We have one. When we built the station, a mural was designed by I think it was Sasserini, one of the elementary schools in town. I'm sorry, I don't have a good recollection. Maybe Presswood, but it was done by students, and it's a really, really cool mural. If you've never been in the fire station, you ought to come by and check it out. It's on the wall. When we built the station, we put it on the wall there, and it was also funded through the public art funds for that.
That's very interesting. I didn't know any of that, and so definitely will drop by. I think this is really a great start to a new public art policy with working with different departments and establishing that we do have a process for beautifying and memorializing in our community, and let's start using it. So thank you for presenting this idea. Sorry we didn't coordinate better with you, but we're making our way through this. So I'm looking for a motion.
Really quick before we do a motion, I know we don't really have a public audience here, but we do need to formally open and close
Thank
public
you.
comment.
Yes, so public comment, please. No one's here. Okay, thanks. And then we're ready, thanks, Natalie, for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend the approval of this project to City Council without recommending any public art fund support at this time.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Kershner,
Yes.
Commissioner Momsen,
Yes.
Commissioner or Vice Chair Knudsen,
Yes.
Chair Schlelein,
Yes.
and Youth Member Brown.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Do you
Thanks
need
for
me at all
coming.
for the 4th of July sticker? Oh, I saw that on the agenda.
Yeah, hang out. You never know what you're going to run into here.
I know.
So 4.3 item is formation of a 4th of July parade ad hoc committee for assistance with float creation and coordination. I'll turn it over to Sarah.
Thank you very much, Chair Schlelein. So we have not done this before, but this was something that came up last 4th of July, is we realized that sometimes we may have treasure artists. As you know, treasure artists, they have a float or the opportunity to have a float or ride in the parade for 4th of July. The commission typically marches in front holding a banner. And last year we had, of course, Victor Farrar, and he brought his wonderful dancers who accompanied him during the float. And typically the treasure artist may sit in a vehicle and be driven through. This year we happen to have Margaret Hatcher, who, as you may remember, has had a float in the past that was quite significant, very large float. I can't remember if it was an anniversary, a significant anniversary of something that I remember. It was a very large dress that actually was a huge person on top of a moving vehicle. So as we know, Margaret is known for her creations, costuming, and just speaking with her anecdotally, she did have some ideas for 4th of July. And in addition to just it probably being a good idea, there was discussions last year about arranging for some sort of handout or something to give along the route, but also that Margaret herself as the artist and what she's constructing for 4th of July, there may be value in having an ad hoc that can work with her to help her with whatever she might need in the literal construction and or concept or just the communication factor, because I think it's going to be more than just she shows up and gets in the back of the car and rides. It seems like there might be a little bit more opportunity to work with her on that. So the concept of starting creating an ad hoc for this purpose that also would then help facilitate on day of with making sure that the banner is correct and facilitating kind of time and location, that would be valuable as well. With the holiday, things get a little wild, and it's always good to have lots of people who know the plan. So the having an ad hoc that was involved would be helpful with that. And I will say, just as we're going ahead, Commissioner Emerson let me know that she was very sorry she couldn't attend tonight, but that she would be very interested in serving on this particular ad hoc if it was the desire of those who are here tonight. So without further ado, I'll let you discuss. Feel free to ask more questions, and if you choose to create the ad hoc, we would need at least no more than 3 members.
Other thoughts, discussion?
I'd like to do the next ad hoc, I think, and I'm on a lot, so I'd like to give the opportunity to others. I very much enjoyed walking in the 4th of July last year starting with my daughter, and then she fell asleep and put her aside. But there's some great ideas of how we can engage the community and handouts and dress up and showcase our commission a little more. So I'd be excited for any of you to join the ad hoc. I can if it's very necessary, but I'd like to skip over this one. So.
And this is the last meeting before the 4th of July, is that correct?
Technically, we do have a meeting next week to continue the student creative artist interviews. So there is another option if you would like to continue this item until the next. There were a few absences we are not expecting tonight, so it did kind of change the calculus. That if you would like to continue this item to the next meeting, we certainly could to next week.
I think for me that would be helpful because as Meredith has alluded to, the next ad hoc is also going to be heavy on work, and so knowing how that plays out will help. Plus, some of the other commissioners may want to join this particular ad hoc. So, but I think that it's going to be a hoot. This 4th of July, having Margaret as the treasure artist is really gonna change our entry, what we do. So I'm pretty excited about it. Other thoughts?
I would be willing to be on the ad hoc, but I also, if the people who aren't here are like really dying to do it, I don't want to, I'm happy to discuss it again next time, and if they're not into it, put my name in then.
So it sounds like we're thinking about tabling. How do we do that appropriately?
So we still have to do the same protocol. So open for public comment, and then we would just need a motion to continue. I do just want to point out that you can appoint people technically to an ad hoc if you want to. You also can make an ad hoc of just one person for now, and then you could address it at the next meeting and they can join then, if that's what you want to do. But you can continue to the next meeting. It would just be in the motion, and then we would do a roll call vote.
I don't feel like I want to appoint them yet. I'd rather see, since we're only 1 week away, and we can finalize and have a simpatico, everybody excited. So, you have any thoughts on the 4th of July? And you've hung out here, so.
I sure do. We brought the 4th of July was taken over by us when the community center decided they didn't want to do it, and I actually was the one to bring it to the volunteer association saying, you guys need to do this. And so I was the lead person until this last year I stepped down, because I've done it for the last 8 years. I can tell you for a fact that it would be helpful to have some folks that know what's going on, because you've probably been there at the last minute when we're like, where's the treasure artist? And they're supposed to be up here. And who's got the banner, right? It's not, that doesn't come from us. So it would make it a lot easier for us if you had, someone there that knew the plan, communicated with us, could even come to we know who it is, we could have someone attend our meetings. And, we're always looking for extra help. It's a big lift for our firefighters to do this. And so that would be, I endorse it.
Thank you.
And
we
would appreciate
it. And we love the 4th of July and what you guys do.
Good.
Thank
Was
you.
there any other questions for me?
Nope.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's have fun this summer. Sounds good. So, do I need a motion to table?
Yes, it would be a motion to continue to, the April
For the
22nd
next
meeting.
agenda?
Mhm.
Someone want to do that?
I'd like to make a motion to continue the agenda item on the formation of a 4th of July Parade Ad Hoc Committee for assistance with float creation and coordination to the next meeting on April 22nd.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Call?
Commissioner Kershner,
Yes.
Commissioner Momsen,
Yes.
Vice Chair Knudsen,
Yes.
Chair Schlelein,
Yes.
and Youth Member Brown.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Item 4.4, formation of an ad hoc committee to develop a public art toolkit with supplemental resources to support the city's public art program. Sarah, do you want to take it
I
from
can
there?
introduce, but it feels like that kind of says it all. Although, for those listening, maybe, they may not know what the toolkit is. It's something that we've discussed in various conversations when we discussed our public art policy update. And as part of the art policy, there's a number of what we call tools, and it's a very common term used among agencies and jurisdictions that have public art programs, that there's often a toolkit that accompanies the various processes for public art that helps people either navigate the process or identify sites where public art might go, and so those sites can be developed with the appropriate stands or bases, and that it can be part of a larger plan for public art. I went through and just did a laundry list of potential things that a toolkit could include. The staff report doesn't necessarily just mean we have to have all of these things, and there may be things that aren't on this list that we consider toolbox items, but I know that there are commissioners who have already started work on components. For example, Chair Schlelein mentioned a map that would identify potential locations for either temporary or permanent art, just so that as people, if they're considering wanting to come to the city or they're in the city, we have local artists, or even this body, when we have our study sessions, we have a certain budget and we say, oh, let's do a temporary art, and we do a call to art, and somebody has pieces, and then we have these locations already identified and they have what they need, and we can kind of move forward with those things. So it's that. Also, you'll see things on here like, there might be some grant opportunities out there that we could kind of list. I notice a lot of places have them. It's not necessarily that the commission would apply for those, but that people who are pursuing a public art project could be better connected so that we can help get these things off the ground in whatever way. So the idea is being just something that would be a friendly addition to the public art program that I'm building on our side in terms of applications and website pages and those kinds of tools, that these would help with that. We would reference them, and it would start building the program to be a fuller piece. So this is the natural next step.
Discussion?
I'd like to volunteer myself to be on the committee if it works out with everybody else.
Others?
I'd be happy to volunteer with this. I think it's really exciting. I've done toolkits for other cities. You know, in not having a master plan, I think that this it will be, in a sense, our plan. You know, a public art proposal for you know, items that have come forth as permanent art would be really great. So everyone has that opportunity. We also have Creative Sonoma. That is a really great resource in the county. So when it comes down to grants and resources, you know, I think it would be open to discussion on like who are we for the community? Are we that resource, or is that something that the county already has? And so really looking at our program itself and the guidelines and tools specific for that. But anyways, I'd be happy to volunteer.
If others don't want to, I would love to do it as well, but I don't want to take up space. The third place.
I think you three would make a powerhouse team, so thank you.
Wonderful. I think we're already on it. Friday, I believe we'll be working a little bit if we were given permission tonight. So this helps. And so, do we need public comment on this? Okay, public comment. Little thing we need to do, and so we need a motion for these people. So, Morgan, do you want to?
I make a motion to approve the formation of an ad hoc committee made up of Lauren Kershner, Meredith Knudsen, and Connie Schlelein to develop a public art toolkit for the city's public art program.
Do I have a second?
I second that.
So the youth member actually can't second.
I'll second.
Thank you. But that is good practice. I like it.
And roll call, please, Natalie.
Yes. Commissioner Kershner?
Yes.
Commissioner Momsen?
Yes.
Vice Chair Knudsen?
Yes.
Chair Schlelein?
Yes.
And Youth Member Brown?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. So next up, item 5.0, ad hoc committee updates. And I don't know if we have who might give the update.
I'm on the utility box art wrap ad hoc, and I know it will be, I believe, on the agenda at the 22nd meeting of the 22nd, correct?
And that is the hope. We do have, there's a couple of things that need to line up to come in. We found out, for example, our artist agreement that we had in place wouldn't quite fit here. So we did need to have legal help us with that, which sometimes can take a little bit longer just in terms of the turnaround time. But the hope is that it comes to you on the 22nd. That's the goal, and we will go with that until I know anything different. So I'm thinking very good thoughts, and so should all of you.
Great, thank you.
So we can move on then. We don't need public comment. Okay. So commissioners' reports and comments. Can we do any of you have things to note?
I just wanted to mention that the treasure artist reception was really exceptional, and I think it got put together pretty well, and just thank you for everyone's help putting that together and attending.
Lauren did an outstanding job.
I was going to say thank you, Lauren.
Sarah's a pretty good planner herself.
I think we've got a good working team, and it was super fun. Sorry to have missed Morgan. It was pretty exceptional, really unique. Other things of note? I have one, and that is the roundabout sculpture has been started, the discussion. And if you haven't been past the roundabout down south west of town, they called it the Big Bend. Is that what they call that?
Yes, there's a lot of local notable names for the area, but for most of us, it's the intersection by Bono's. And the Vineyard Inn, that has been, the roundabout has obviously been in construction for some time, and I know Connie is doing work on a potential public art piece for the center of it.
We really saw this as an entryway piece that would get us started on our map and be a branding opportunity for us, for our Valley creatives. Right now, currently, Caltrans is finishing that roundabout, and they have a lot of giant boulders in the middle of it. There's a group of people that thinks maybe we could do something more than giant boulders, and there's been some considerable discussion about how that might happen. Caltrans does not provide any funding, and there are a lot of different recommendations and hoops because obviously it's safety issues, and people are very concerned, especially because people aren't particularly used to roundabouts, so they don't know always how to negotiate around them. And so there's a lot of precedents that are being set here. If you noticed in Napa, there's a similar roundabout down by the Costco, new Costco area. And I don't believe there are any plans to remove those rocks or to do anything else over there. However, our city, in our community, in our county, Susan Gorin had been working on this for years, the concept of a roundabout, and there was a dream that maybe we could do something more to welcome people into the valley. In addition, we've heard there's going to be another roundabout on 8th Street East and the same highway. So it's another opportunity for some other options, but with no funding. So there's always challenges, but there is a fairly large group of people that are starting to come together with a vision and some ideas. And so that's one of the things that's going on. It's a neat opportunity, I think.
Whose jurisdiction is that? Is that city property or county?
It's county.
Okay.
And so, and we're needing to get clarification because Caltrans does not maintain those things. So the question is, and Meredith's been extremely helpful, who owns it, who will own it, who gets to decide what is there, and who maintains it, as well as who's liable for it. So all those questions are yet to be answered, but we're starting it's starting to become clear, and so we're working with some ambiguity. Another discussion item, which I think you're probably going to bring up, Sarah, is the new. There's a new hanging device in here that's been installed, so our future shows will be a little cleaner and a little easier to hang. And so I don't have much more to bring other reports before we turn it over to staff. Okay, I think we're ready for you.
All right. Yes. Well, you can see it. It looks awfully blank out there, doesn't it? But it does look clean. Our staff, we did have a good old patch and paint, which was very necessary. We had done a really good job of utilizing the resources we had available for the rotating art exhibits, which had really been wonderful over the last year. This next one will be installed by the Sonoma Community Center. And this is the same art hanging system. If you've been upstairs in their second story, they have the art hanging system that they use in what they call their Causeway Gallery. This is the same one. So we turned to them for a recommendation as they will be doing the installation. Felt good to have something that they're familiar with working with. So the rail itself doesn't look like much. There are wires, obviously, that hang down. That's what the art is hung on, so there will not be, or there might be some holes for other things, but that it won't be necessary to affix things to the wall, so it should be a smoother and quicker process to install and uninstall as well. So we're excited for that. I'm hoping that they'll have the installation soon. We're working on their timing to come in and do that installation. So really got a shout out to our public works team because this was not on any of their to-do lists, but they really were wonderful to work with. They did all the measurements and ordering and installation and everything in-house, so I'm very grateful to them for that. Just two other things to let you know that City Council did ratify their goals earlier this year. Obviously, because of our meetings are kind of far apart. You might remember, I think I mentioned they were going to have a goal setting session. They did have one. Parks and Recreation and inclusive of art and art programs is in their goals. David Ewan, our city manager, will be giving a presentation to this body at your next meeting to discuss those council goals in advance of an item that we're working on to bring you an opportunity to create a work plan for 2025. So as you know, council sets goals and then commissions and staff work to help those goals come into realization. So the energy that we have in our work plans and things often are not required, but it works better if it aligns with council goals to make sure that it's all moving forward. So I'm looking forward to that. And then to let you know that the Earth Day photo contest, which we are doing in partnership with the community center as well, is now online for voting. The online galleries up. We had 30 hidden gem was the theme this year. So people took pictures of places or in places that they consider hidden gems in Sonoma Valley, and they really some interesting ones in there. So I don't know if you've had a chance to look, but I encourage you all to go vote for your favorite. It is hard. I keep just debating on which one to vote for. I've changed my mind about 8 times. They're all really lovely, and that is going to be the next installation here in this room. So with that, I think I don't have any more real updates. I'll have another opportunity to talk to you in a week, so I'm sure I'll come up with more things.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. We'll get a cleanup meeting coming up. So with that, I think we're adjourned at 7:55.
transformation.
I know.